Hey everybody, Qroo here. You know, anytime somebody tells me they want to learn Spanish, my first piece of advice for them is to narrow their focus down to a particular region or country. It just makes things much easier. That way, right from the start, they're going to start to develop their ear for the language, but their ear for a particular type of Spanish, that pronunciation. You know, I've spoken English my whole life, and still, when I watch certain television shows or movies and say the actors are from England or Ireland, I put on the subtitles. When you're training your ear, it really helps to focus on a particular Spanish. Another advantage of focusing on the Spanish in a particular region or country is that you'll learn the colloquialisms. You'll learn how they like to phrase things, and there's a huge advantage of that. Still, anytime I give that advice, inevitably in the comments section, somebody's going to say, look, Paul, that's great advice. I'm sure it is. But I'm not interested in doing that. You know, I want to learn universal Spanish. I want to learn neutral Spanish. I want to talk to everyone. I don't want somebody to go, oh, you've learned Mexican Spanish or Spain Spanish. I want to be neutral. I'm going to tell you right up front, that is a very difficult thing to do. And the reason is, well, there's multiple reasons. But one of the big reasons is that Spanish vocabulary is going to change from country to country and even region to region. So at some point, you're going to have to make some important decisions. For example, when it comes to the trunk of a car, you're going to have to decide, are you going to call it a baúl, maletero, or cajuela? Or even something as simple as a drinking straw. Is it pajita, petillo, or papote? And when it comes to vosotros, are you going to use that or not use that? So there's a lot of decisions to make if you want to be so-called neutral in Spanish. Which, begs the question, is there a neutral Spanish? And if there's not, what's the closest thing to it? What country or region should you focus on? And I already know that question is going to spark a lot of healthy debate in the comments section. I look forward to reading your comments. But for now, I'm going to ask you, listen to this clip carefully, because I want you to identify where the Spanish is from, and if you think it sounds very neutral. You ready? Let's go.
Espera, por favor. Él es Cilia. Estudiamos en la misma escuela.
Encantado.
Buenas noches.
¿Ustedes son novios?
No.
Teniente Mayor Rosiskin. Resulta que estoy trabajando con el caso de Olga Matbeyeva.
Ah, ya entiendo. ¿Hay algo para hacer con el caso?
Sí, lo hay. ¿Cuánto tiempo llevaba casado usted con Olga?
3 años. ¿Acaso piensa interrogarme aquí?
Solo tengo una pregunta. ¿Había una pistola en casa?
¿Qué pistola? Es una locura.
So what'd you think? Sounded very neutral, didn't it? Did you notice any colloquialisms or slang that would help you identify a country? I don't think you did. And the reason is because this is called universal, neutral, or international Spanish. And what it really is an effort by scholars and media companies and translation companies to create a more standard Spanish. And the goal there is to create translations that are free from regional slang, colloquialisms, and that use vocabulary that are likely to be understood by Spanish speakers no matter where they're from. If you noticed, even the accent's been softened, and you really can't identify, where is that accent from? It's just easy to understand, right? If you want to focus on a more neutral Spanish, you may want to adopt a similar approach. So how do you do that? Well, the big thing is to keep your Spanish as general as possible. You want to learn expressions, constructions that are universally understood. Here's one that I've taught you before. Echar de menos, which means to miss someone or miss something. Juan echa de menos a su hijo. Juan misses his son. This is a universal construction that's used across the Spanish-speaking world. Echar de menos, you can write it on your word list. Now, this one is not. Echar la hueva, which means to be lazy, to do nothing. But it is only used in Mexico. Now, if you're in Mexico, it's super useful, right? You could say things like, Hoy lo único que quiero hacer es echar la hueva. Today, the only thing I want to do is, do nothing. And that's useful in Mexico. But outside of Mexico, that doesn't make any sense. People will look at you like, what? My wife is from Colombia, and we moved to Mexico. The first time she heard it, she looked at me and she asked, what do they mean by that? because, well, she knows I know Mexican Spanish. Figuring out if a particular expression is universally understood can be the challenge. One way to do it is to follow channels like mine that try to keep the Spanish, well, very neutral. And that's what I try to do because I have followers who are, want to learn Spanish from all kinds of different countries. So I do keep it very neutral. I show you expressions that are universally understood. And when I don't, I point that out, that this is useful in Spain or this one's useful in Mexico. But if you really want to work on your neutral Spanish, my channel will only take you so far because, well, I only have so many videos and I'm not helping you with that accent, right? So you're going to have to take it a step further. But fortunately, you won't have to look any further than YouTube. By far, YouTube is going to be your best source of information if you want to work on your neutral Spanish. And the reason is that there are tons of free movies dubbed in neutral Spanish or universal Spanish. One thing you have to keep in mind when you're looking for dubbed movies in Spanish is that they fall in one of two categories. And I bet you can already guess what those are, right? Latin American Spanish and European Spanish. Well, the ones that are in Latin American Spanish are generally in this neutral Spanish. They were created with that. They're using vocabulary that's widely understood. They're using that accent that's not quite an accent from any particular country. And my recommendation is to watch these things. And you're going to hear what type of vocabulary you're using. And you can work on your accent, listen to them, pause, speak back to them. Now, how do you find these things? Well, it's as easy as just looking up movies. Personally, I'm a big fan of action movies. So if I'm going to look for a movie on YouTube because I'm bored, I'm going to type in películas de acción. Now, if you want to make sure that you're getting the Latin American Spanish, you can add maybe in parentheses, en español latino, and that will narrow it down, all right? And then seriously, just have a good time working on your neutral Spanish because there is a ton of material in there. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you'll just do me a favor and give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already a subscriber, why not subscribe? I talk about a lot of things people don't talk about in other channels. I'm teaching Spanish from the perspective of an English speaker, so I do have some tips to share with you don't see everywhere else. Also, I'm this close to getting to 100,000 subscribers, and well, I'd really like to hit it, So if you can help me with that, that'd be awesome. And I guess that's it. So until next time, hasta luego.